Hi everyone, welcome to the GoldFish Report. I'm your host, Louisa. Today is Sunday, November 18th, 2018. This is our GoldFish Report number 297, and we're getting close to that 300 mark. But we have some very special interviews, and today we have a very special, very unique one. I'll tell you, we have today with us singer-songwriter George Nassif, and he's a very interesting person, and he doesn't look like he usually does. But I want to introduce George to the GoldFish Report. Welcome, George.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, George is a real person, but the reality is something has gone awry with the video, and he looks like AI, honest to God, but he's really real. And
I am real. I have
there he
very
is.
good hands in this particular video.
Yeah, it is not a green screen. It is a green screen, but it's not the green screen that everybody knows about. George is a very interesting man, and we have a very interesting topic to talk about today because it's near and dear to everybody's hearts. First, we're going to talk about George's background as a musician. He's a singer-songwriter, and I'm just going to play some of his beautiful music for us. While I'm talking, can you hear that okay, George?
I hear it. Very, very background, but I hear it.
Right. So this is just lovely. It is so relaxing. It's perfect for relaxing, quite honestly. It's so very beautiful.
Oh, you're playing.
And I'm also going to screen share. Let's take a look at this. Here's the album cover. Here we go. There's George. That's really George.
That is me. That's the real me.
That's the real you.
Now remember that day near the beach and
handsome man, but you couldn't tell today from this green screen.
I'm looking a little green, yes.
Yeah, so you're a little green today. You need to take some ginger ale. Okay, so this is George. George is
try coffee and see if this helps.
Try the coffee.
Brown.
Yeah, and George is also not just an incredible singer-songwriter, but George is also has, and like many musicians do, I always find that many musicians have some level of expertise in computers. And I tell you, I haven't met one that hasn't yet. And George has put together, now I'm going to screen share his Facebook page because I think what would be helpful to people is to see that George is a real person with a real identity. And because this is very unusual, folks. I have never had an interview where I had someone come on looking almost artificial intelligence. You know, it looks like AI, but it's just the problem with his video. So it's okay. The interview must go on. And here's George's Facebook page. And
here I'm playing my guitar.
There you are. And here you're an IT Internet Network Security Specialist as well, certified white hat NSS. And the whole thing about the computers today is the reason why we have George on, and this is really important to talk about. George has a GoFundMe site because he's starting what's called Secure Social Media Online. And this is very interesting. We're going to talk about it. We're going to have fun talking about it. And what I'm going to do first, though, is I'm going to ask George to kind of give everybody a little bit of background about his music first, because I absolutely love his music. To me, it's very Spyro Gyra. It's very lovely, very social, very, I would say, you know, very cheerful music. And he writes about love a lot. So, you know, it's good music. Can you tell us about your music, George, and when you started writing? And
well, when I was young, I started playing guitar at about 10 years old, and planted myself in front of the TV. The musicians that would come on Ed Sullivan show, something like, I don't know, 1964-ish. You'd see the Beatles, you'd see, you know, all the different bands come on, and I sat there and learned all the songs. And I became a pretty good guitar player in a year's time. I was actually teaching other people to play. So as I grew up in high school, I would play at the high school dances, and I would have a lot of fun jamming with people. And just playing at restaurants. Pretty soon I was, actually being paid to play in good restaurants, local places here. And, I said, wow, this is really fun. I love doing it. And then I started writing about my experience during my life, the falling in loves and the falling out of loves and it's more like dropping out of love. Sometimes you get slammed.
Yep.
Sometimes,
It's a
sometimes it's a good thing, but you
bummer.
always learn. You always learn, and you always grow. And so that's what I write about is a real life experience. And I think that's why most of these songs touch somebody somewhere in a different way. And I'm working on a new album that is only love songs and directed towards relationships. And it could be considered, wedding music or something. I did play a lot of weddings, and I've done over 5,000 concerts in my career.
Hmm.
So I did have a lot of exposure, local exposure.
We're just taking a look at some more of your pictures. This is one of your album covers, Tried by Fire. These are lovely songs, just beautiful. And because my background is in music as well, and of course Steve's is, and Koila Pele, our blogger friend Koila Pele in Hawaii. So many of us do have backgrounds in music, so we always appreciate the chance to talk about music when we have a musician on. So it's really a treat for me. I should do more of it, but I've been kind of enmeshed in politics lately.
Aren't we
But
all?
this album, is this available for people? Where can they find it?
It is available online. I believe I have one original album left,
Hmm.
original vinyl.
Hmm.
I have,
Oh, wow, vinyl.
yeah, I do. I have one original vinyl from
Uh-huh.
the original 1983 release. I'm saving it because it's worth a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
But I wanted going back to the album cover,
Yeah.
that was highly cropped. That was a 4-foot painting, and there's a ton of beautiful sky and stars and
Here,
planets and everything
we'll go
behind
back
it.
to it. Is it this one here?
This album cover design was done beautifully. I wish they hadn't cropped it so close.
Wow.
What it shows is a heavenly scene with, again, the stars and the planets and a black sky behind this.
Hmm.
And the what you don't see here is the gold, the pot of gold, as our
Hmm.
hearts are being purified. Uh, the gold poured into the heart symbolizes a pure heart.
Oh.
A lot of people thought it was Judgment Day, but I said, no, this is not judgment. This is a heart that's pure gold.
Hmm.
And if you were to look at the whole painting,
Hmm.
you'd see underneath is actually a reflection of what's above. So
Uh-huh.
try to imagine a book match of the exact same thing that you see up above down
Right.
below, and then a bunch of stars and planets behind it. So I tried to buy this. Actually, I paid the guy to do it, but he didn't want to release it to me.
Hmm.
And I would have loved to have the artwork hanging on my wall.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, and like you said, it's a little hard to see whether that there's skies and stars there, but you can definitely see the colors are just beautiful. I mean, they're vibrant and they communicate. The colors do communicate a lot, and I think that these colors really reflect the joy in the music. I mean, to me,
Well,
and
thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah, I like the concept of the gold and the purifying the heart and things like that. Um, it's really beautiful, and this is when we talk so much on Goldfish Report about um, we go through a lot of evidence, we go through research, we go through data, we go through scientific statistical things. What we don't spend enough time, and I agree with this on Goldfish Report, is talking about the artistic expressive side of life, which I'm sure I will make a point to get to doing that more. But it's really interesting because there's this whole other creative side of humans that don't really get to have their I think their well, you don't get to express it really. You need to really have benefactors and patrons to support artists. It's very hard to be an artist today. Very, very hard. You have to
Very
really,
difficult. Yes,
right?
I agree, 100%.
I mean, visual artists, music artists, all graphic artists. Graphic artists might not be quite as difficult because of all the computer applications that really require some creativity to make good, websites and to do creative things, when it comes to computers.
I think people are hungry for what is real. They're looking for reality, not fantasy all the time. And
Coming from this green digital man.
I know, coming from this
We're going
particular
to just
video,
joke about this because it's pretty funny.
I know it is funny, and I don't know what the problem is, but I do have to fix that because one thing I realize is people tell me that the most often is that the music is real, and that's what they know. It's coming from a heart that's experienced something,
Right, right,
and they relate to it because they've experienced the same thing. And I think
right.
that's what makes songs a hit song or a loser, is the fact people have experienced it and they feel it. They feel either the emotion of some kind, whether it's joy, love, pain, sorrow,
Sure.
sadness, whatever, that
Mhm.
they feel it. So I'm trying to lift people up and write about the good things and get people back into talking with each other face to face,
Yep, just like
like
we're
we are
doing.
right now. Me and
Exactly. I've spoken to George before, and I said, George, one of the things we need to do is make sure people know that you're like a live person behind this project. And I said, this might not be helping today, but we're going to give it our best shot. And George, we're going to have you come back again too. I mean, at some point, because
I'll get this fixed.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
there's
we'll
got to be
so
a way to
we'll
fix this.
talk a little bit more about it. But let's, and that there is a creative side, to computers, as we were just talking about, as you know. And so, but music is not just about creativity. Music is also about when you're notating music. There's theory behind music. So there is,
Right.
in a sense, there's science because it's very mathematical. Music is very mathematical. It's also it has syntax, it has components of language, it has components of things that a rule generated system is what it is. So being that it lends itself to I think that's what makes it so easy for musicians to kind of bridge into computers, because you can you can use that creativity, believe it or not. It can be very creative, can it?
Oh, absolutely. And now we have the whole science of computer science and technology, which almost every guitar effect or every piano effect, we have guitars now and have had for a long time that can play violin sounds and
Right.
piano sounds and drum sounds just on the guitar by
Hmm.
plugging it into an electronic device. And then we can record our music on our computers now and have everything stored in memory. And we can have our own home recording studio. Uh, they make complete albums out of this.
Right. Well, they have many software programs for doing music notation on the computer, and I actually have two of them. And one
Mm-hmm.
drives me crazy because it inserts rests, and I can't get rid
Uh-huh.
of them sometimes. And I know I have to go in there and make an adjustment, and it's time consuming and frustrating. And it's like it's a little bit more difficult, but it's definitely much more legible, and it's actually publisher quality when you can
Mm-hmm.
use these programs. Exactly. But even more so, I think that's probably what made it, would you say that's what made it easy for you to go into computers? And when did you actually start computers? Was something that you always did simultaneously with music?
It is actually. I was a young person that was looking to grow and learn, and I was hired by a company called Digital Scientific Corporation that was a spinoff from IBM.
Hmm.
And at 18, I started working with them, and they took these two engineers from IBM started this company with two computers that were no longer being built by IBM. And I worked in the customer engineering department. So I learned all about the parts and pieces that make a computer. And back then, computer was the size of a refrigerator. So I would run parts back and forth to the universities and different places that use the computers. And um, I just loved the fascination of going to meet all these people. And, I wanted to know how everything worked. They had to input data on little paper cards, and the cards were fed into a thing that was reading the numbers. Everything's a zero and a one, zero and a one, but they are placed in different, um, combinations it's all very much like accounting. Everything's counting zeros and ones. So when I learned the simplicity of that, but when you add it all out to, from gigabytes and terabytes and exabytes and all these different things, you learn that it's endless. The computers can count forever, basically, until they time out. So anyway, not to get too technical, but that's when I learned that I could do anything with a computer. And that's what's happened. We're living in a world where we could do anything with a computer and a connection. Oh, I just lost your audio. Wait a minute. I don't know what happened. I'm not hearing you.
Sorry, it's me.
Did you mute your? Yeah.
Yes, it was muted accidentally. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, as your website says, I'm sorry, your Facebook page, you're an IT security network specialist, and so you did get to learn basically what's involved in that. I mean, what do you really get to do? What's your area of expertise then? What's that?
Internet security is the reason I went to school. I went to university back. Now it was 2010 or 11, I believe, and I graduated in 2014. So I was in 4 years basically of university to learn, well, to get the degree, to get the internet security changes every day. And it's very difficult to really catch up. It's constant learning. You're constantly getting recertified for new things. But I wanted to have the education. So
Right.
with a basic education came a lot of networking
Hmm.
specialist type classes where you learn to build a network and you learn to secure the network. And there's always new threats and always new things. You just have to think fast, and you have to be able to secure your website. And thank God for the guys that know how to code and
Right.
block IP addresses. And I've learned a lot about programming, a lot about how to block countries, complete countries or IP addresses. And one of the things about the new website is we'll actually be blocking
Hmm.
any US military and US government websites will actually be blocked. I have a listing of every IP address in the world, and I get the information as new ones are dished out, basically. IPv4 and IPv6. They'll be blocked in countries like Russia or China and different places that are well known for their hacking, so that they cannot view the website, they cannot get into it, and be doing background checks on people as they come in, so that we know
Hmm.
pretty clearly who's on board. Um,
Right.
the reason I built this server and the whole purpose of having it was exactly what it says: secure social media networking,
Right.
secure chat, secure server storage,
Mm.
and
I mean,
video media, where you know that it's safe and secure. Nobody's going to steal your stuff. Nobody's going to ban you.
mhm.
Nobody's going to put you on notice. Like, I'm on a 30-day ban right now with Facebook. It's the 9th time.
We're going to talk
And
about that.
we'll talk about it
Yeah.
later. So I wanted something that's going to work. So I have 3 contractors
Hmm.
working with me.
I'm going to screen share this so we can talk about it. This is a picture of basically the servers that you're talking about.
Yes, and then there's more information down below in the link where it says securesocialmedia.online,
Okay.
and that will give more information. It's not the actual website yet because it's not ready.
Hmm.
We have entered into contracts
I
with,
don't see it. Where is it? No, I don't see it.
well, go back up to the first paragraph.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, it's right there, and you can see
Oh,
it.
yeah. Okay. Let's click on this and let's see where this.
Securesocialmedia.online.
Okay. Excellent.
So
Here
it's
we go.
very clear that I'm building. These are multiple servers, multiple backups,
Hmm.
and we have secure social media, secure chat, photo sharing, and video sharing,
Hmm.
which I hope eventually, over time, would take the place of YouTube. So your video sharing doesn't get banned, and you don't get either shadow banned or blocked or
Deleted.
anything. You're not going to get deleted from this site.
Well,
Um,
I mean, sorry to interrupt, but you know, Goldfish Report, this has been notorious. We have absolutely suffered terribly. Our YouTube channel was deleted in March, never restored.
Wow.
Our blogs were recently deleted, all three of them by WordPress, and of course, Facebook is. So I did have a backup YouTube channel, but it is so shadow banned, and people are always telling me they see it on a bootleg site long before they see it on ours, and so that's a problem. But also, Facebook has really, it's like they're choking it, they're throttling the connections, the reach, the, you know,
Right.
that the pages. And this is just, you know, this is where I think, George, we're seeing it's like a, I'm going to also screen share this. If you just go to the Goldfish Report on Facebook, you'll see the numerous times we've been banned, blocked, all these messages. I mean, this one, the page
Wow.
was totally, this is taking a long time to connect. Interesting. And so, yeah, look, this account has been terminated. And I mean, I had no idea what, we have no idea what it was that that they had a problem with, because there was really no, there was no recourse. There was no way um, to dispute this. Here's another one. I mean, you know, look, here they're trying to say that PolitiFact uh, checked your source and said that that this is not a real story. Who's PolitiFact? I didn't agree to this. I mean, so you know, I think that who are they, the arbiters of truth? And so Facebook's trying to be the arbiters of truth, and
Right.
this is a problem, George. I mean, at some point, our free speech is, you know, and then just recently this week, we had this block as well, where, and I had no idea why this was blocked. Um,
Well,
I
because
couldn't,
people
but I
like
started posting about the president. Yeah.
what we have here, political flack, is a
Yeah.
PolitiFact is not factual. It's not even
Right.
remotely honest or true.
Mhm.
It's basically a left wing website that tries to discredit anybody that's doing any conservative message.
Mhm.
And all they do all day is report people like us because they don't want us out there. They're trying to
Right.
eliminate us
Mhm.
electronically.
Right.
What they don't know is that there's some of us that have special gifts and insight and knows how to block them as well. But
Mhm.
I won't go into that right now, except for that they're in we are in a warfare
Yes.
that people need to understand. It's not just spiritual; it's social and it's also physical. And to be you really have to be prayed up on this stuff to understand what's going on, and you have to investigate it because they're out to get us and they're out to kill us off basically and outnumber us any way
Mhm.
they can. And there's a lot of them out there. I get reported, like I said, it's the ninth time on Facebook. I've been
Right.
reported on Twitter. What I've done
What was your offense? Offense. What did
this
you do?
last time, I had a picture only of Goebbels saying that accuse them of what you're guilty of doing. Basically, it was the caption. And that's all it was, is a picture of Goebbels. Now, obviously, the Democrats have done exactly that. They constantly accuse the Republicans and
Mhm.
conservatives of doing things that they do.
Right.
And everything that they do, we've learned is deceptive, and then they turn it around and make it, um, the whole thing is against us. So they just
Right.
basically throw it back in our face. The problem with that is they have no evidence, and that's why they are always losing. This
Right.
whole vote count thing,
Right.
to recount votes, it's way beyond law and way beyond the election, and then
Oh, sure.
we recount and find out that the
Mhm.
Republicans picked up the 5 or 6 seats in the Senate, and that
Mhm.
by the time you get done, the actual Republican governor won the race, not the Democrats. So
Right.
justice will be done. It's just taking more time because they're constantly obstructing justice. And this is the
Right.
problem: is when I came with my evidence to help Julian Assange. Basically, we
Mhm.
have a 21 member committee. Of 10 of them are Democrats, 11 are Republicans, thank God.
Mhm.
But the Democrats would not budge on releasing him, and they wanted to press charges. However, at this point, they would not take my offer because it's too damaging. I basically gave them an ultimatum that I was going to release certain information,
Right.
would exchange it with the Republicans on Julian's release, and that he would be free. Unfortunately, all the Democrats voted yes, and the Democrats voted no. And there was one Democrat that they knew that this information would destroy them.
Hmm. Right.
And that's why they're so adamant about saying no. And then the
Right.
Republicans are afraid because, you know, it's all a money deal. Whoever gets paid the most,
Hmm.
I guess. So money controls a lot of people.
Yeah,
So
that's too
sad.
bad. And you know, it's really funny because you're calling this secure social media, and you might recall our earlier conversation about my suggestion about calling it Bitmo because it's that secure that it's like has an
Yeah.
analogy to Gitmo, but it's that secure. How secure is it? I mean, can you tell us the features? Do you want us to go back to the GoFundMe page, or is there? Should I scroll
No,
down?
this is okay here because
Okay.
I just recently made a contract with CyberGhost. So if you go
Okay.
down a little bit,
Okay.
scroll down, you can learn what CyberGhost is. It's military encrypted. It's secure.
Mhm.
It's going to be part of the website is going to be secured with CyberGhost, and people can secure their own computers with it.
Mhm.
It's a lot more than just a VPN. And I think everybody, you know, I put this here first so people could read it,
Nice.
understand the security of it. I've
Mhm.
not had any incidents at all since I've employed this on my computers.
Wow.
And it's going to be on the main server, but as well. But I also, you know, I do want people to. That's when they're on this site,
Hmm.
they're secure, and everything they do is secure while they're logged into their particular account. I still think that when they're not logged into this account, they really need to be secured by CyberGhost on their own computer for everything that they do on the internet. I
Excellent.
secure my phone with it, uh,
Okay.
and I've not had any more hacking against me on my phone or my computer. So
Hmm.
that's been a big one. Um,
Well, let me ask you a few questions about this. This is this could also be used by the wrong people. That's why you do a background check. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. I want to
Okay.
know who people are, and it only
Right.
takes me a few minutes to do a background check. I
Right.
will be hiring people to do this as well.
Right.
And sometimes it involves going through the DMV, you know, Department of Motor Vehicles, checking
Okay.
records with the police department and the court system. I
Ooh.
need to know who people are if they're going to
Right.
be on my site. And this is something I take very seriously.
Mm.
So many people have been hacked. I think about
Right.
50% of us have been hacked.
Right.
That's crazy, way too
Well,
many.
well, just like to give us an idea, what exactly you want this to be a place where people can go upload videos, and then people can also join, and you can create your own community. So it can also be like a Facebook where people can interact with each other if they want to friend each other, things like that.
Right.
Okay. And what is your goal? I mean, in that regard, because it's called secure social media, secure chat, secure photo sharing, secure video sharing. This is great because it kind of replaces both Facebook and YouTube in one almost.
Well, the idea is that it eventually replace Twitter. Those people will have contracts getting paid between 600 million and 800 million a year, every year, by the
Mhm.
CIA, the NSA, and the FBI. They're under contract to share everything that they have on you. I'm not going to be under contract to anybody, no matter how many millions they offer, because I'm not allowing it. I will block their IPs. I have a really nice program. Another uh, benefit of this is World Fence. And what World Fence does
Mhm.
is it allows you to block IP addresses of anybody that tries to attack you. It immediately alerts you. It immediately blocks that attacker
Mm.
IP address. And
Mm.
it'll do that continually until they stop hacking and they don't get into the system.
Mm.
I've utilized that on a music website I had, selling guitars and instruments, you know, drums, pianos.
Mhm.
Um, they never got in, and they still haven't got in. So the best thing about it is I can block countries completely, every IP address in any particular country I choose.
Mhm.
There's a big list of options there where you can just say I'm going to block all the IP addresses in this bank or that this satellite or that satellite. It's very
Right.
comprehensive.
Hmm. Well, let's go to the GoFundMe page and let's see what's going on here, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to create this. You have you're starting a goal of $100,000. You have a GoFundMe page here, which we're going to include the links in the description section of the video. As far as I'm concerned, we're at war with these social media companies. I think
Right,
everyone really knows, especially about GoldFish Report. We have really suffered at the hands of in my opinion, it's antitrust. It's a bad faith. I mean, you don't, and not only that, but I mean, here Facebook says, George, tell me about your platform here. Facebook says that I couldn't log in one day because it said that I had to re-log in, and I had to agree that they could track me off Facebook, or I
right,
couldn't access my account.
right.
That's too far. I mean, that really goes too far. So I notice that when I get mad at something that happens on Facebook and I say a few words, I notice
Right.
somehow something happens with the account later, soon thereafter, you know, some kind of trickery. I banned. This is what happened. I was arbitrarily banned. There was nothing I did that, you know, I wasn't posting quickly or to a lot of pages or whatever. I mean, I belong to many groups, so I like to post things in groups, and the groups are happy I post it, because it
Yeah.
creates conversation and dialogue. And they just, it's amazing. It's unreal what Facebook is doing. And I don't like that. I don't like that they can track you when you're off of Facebook. And so what do you think about that, George? And tell me about um, initially they never said this. That's why they got so many people to sign up. And then little by little by little, incrementally, they crept in these more draconian, deep state, or I should say, police state measures on Facebook.
Exactly. They
So
had to do that. They have to let people know that they are, in fact, collecting data on you and they are sharing it with the government. And that's what they do. This is the purpose of Facebook originally. Sounded like a fun place to chat, but that was all baloney. They were hired by the CIA to do this. They're paid by the CIA to do this. It's a government program. People just don't understand. They're talking today about uh, the so-called investors, the original investors, quote unquote, that want Mark to step down, and
mhm,
I because they want control of it. How do you ask the guy that created this thing, Zuckerberg, to just step down from CEO, trying to look like he is being blamed for all this, and it's not his doing; it's the government's doing. So that whole thing is a deep state tactic to make us all think that he's the bad guy,
right,
and he did this on his own without it's not him, it's them, you know, because they have the ability to shut it all down.
right.
So
And you're
anyway,
pretty fed up, and you don't like this. You don't like this, spying, and you don't like this
I've had enough.
ability.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had enough. And the whole thing I learned in college, and the reason why I went to university at all is because I wanted to get out of the construction business and get right into something that I'd be good at, that would help people,
Hmm.
ultimately help people. And that's where I came to this design, this whole idea. I was asked by a telecom company to do this for them. And a couple of radio stations contacted me. Could you build us a secure server?
Hmm.
We're not getting banned. Could we have our own connection to the internet so now we're not being shut down? How do we do this? How much would it cost? So I'm currently working
Hmm.
on this, and they are also donating
Hmm.
uh, and hiring me to do work on the commercial level of this. So we'll have commercial accounts, and that way I'm hoping that the commercial accounts would cover the cost of operating so that the general public are free to use
Hmm.
this service. And the whole idea is the first thing people want to know is, what is this going to cost me? And I'm seriously telling them this is free. This is a lifetime. Anybody that donates anything, even a $5 donation, is getting lifetime
Hmm.
use of the server, and it's not going to ever cost the public anything. It'll be hopefully funded completely by commercial accounts, and then we are going to have our own backbone of the internet. We don't need to pay somebody like Cox or uh, any of the the online connecting companies that offer the service. We're actually going to offer our own internet connections. to people. That will cost money, but it's going to be on our own backbone because it costs, for each bank of servers about $500 a month to run a backbone. And the bigger we grow, the more that connection is going to cost. But we'll be on our own connection, which is completely, that's about the most wonderful thing you can have is your own private backbone with a terabyte download type thing. I mean,
Well,
gigabyte download.
right. It says here that that let's see, that this is located off. Yeah, so this new server will be private and located offshore in a country who does not bow down to the deep state and is not subject to U.S. citizen spying laws. Now,
Exactly.
this is what's interesting. I mean, the first things, because most of the things that I report on, Eric Schmidt of Google established well, let's say allegedly established a server over in North Korea that
Mm-hmm.
apparently, allegedly, was being used by Hillary Clinton and et al. And others to, hide, to communicate uh, that in, offline, or I would say off government servers. So this is like so this is where they were thinking, it looks like, as well, where you could actually have, an off-site, offshore type of thing, but um, except those were government officials and they shouldn't have been doing that. But the idea is that it's out from under the, I would say, because these are not these may be corporations, but let's be real about what happened with Facebook. It was first started, I think, by the CIA, and
Right.
what was the name of the company? What was the name of the project or the program that CIA had?
Yeah.
And then the very next day, I mean, literally, I had
Mm-hmm.
the two pages screen shared next to each other. Then the very next day, Facebook started, and it was, one day the what was it? Either the NSA or it was the CIA in some regard had a program that they got to a certain level and then they went public with it, and that gets the government around search warrants, and that's what they're doing. And so they're able
Exactly.
to get this data from the private company that they would ordinarily need to use a search warrant for. But let me ask you something. If I mean, I can only imagine that at some point somebody's going to have an issue, and you may be confronted with a search warrant. So tell me, how would you go about dealing with that?
Well, the whole purpose of having an offshore server, which would actually be in the country of Romania, uh, physically located, it's going to physically be located actually here in America
Hmm.
with the telecom company in their doors. I won't say who, but the connection will be Romania, and that's what matters is the connection. The server itself, and when I say server, I'm talking about a bank of servers, wall of servers
Hmm.
that can compete. If you know anything about Facebook or any of the large data companies, I call them data mining companies because that's what they
Right.
are.
Hmm.
They have servers that are as big in these buildings. There's 7 buildings in the world. They're about the size of two football stadiums. These buildings continue on with literally, you know, 200 yards long of servers. They're huge.
Whoa,
And
that's
I can't,
huge.
it's even water cooled, I mean, it's crazy the amount of cooling fans and different things going on. And it's tremendous, built tremendously to withstand any kind of problems, obviously.
Hmm.
So it's not easy to keep that thing running. It's like a huge thing with 5 or 6 backups, because they're huge. I mean, they have 1 million people a day at any given time of night from all over the world in every time zone
Right.
on there. Uh, they boast about 1 billion customers, but the truth is, it's not that many. They're not getting
Hmm.
that many people on there, but it's gone down quite a bit
Hmm.
especially since all the people hearing about the spying going on.
Right. So here it's talking about spy-free connections to the internet, lifetime membership. That's nice. So any support. means this, secure server for uploading and saving videos. That's really important because there's really very few places that you can actually upload and store MP4 files or other kinds of files that you might need. And you know, for video, you need a lot of storage. I mean, it's not really something you can't have your own server at home. I mean, some people may, but ideally,
Mhm.
you don't have a server at home to store all these. Like in other words, when they deleted the GoldFish report, I had about 200 videos uploaded to the channel. They were interviews, and they were gone, but they weren't completely gone because I had the original. So, so,
Right.
but tell me about. Okay, well, let me just go through this, and I'm going to ask you about cloud, because I don't know if you were going to offer that in addition to this or not. I thought at one time maybe
Well,
you were.
that's what it's about.
Oh, it is about. It is a cloud. Okay.
It would be in fact a cloud server for storage. I
Okay.
don't like using cloud because that just gives you this idea that it's way up in the air somewhere
It
and
does.
it's floating around. When I say secure server, this thing is it's gonna be bolted to the ground. It's not going
Right.
anywhere. And what I worry about in cloud serving is that anybody with a year's worth of education on computers can pretty much break into a cloud and steal files. And this is not going to be that type of thing. You won't be able to get into anybody else's
Okay,
accounts.
excellent. It says
So,
freedom of speech, no censorship of conservative views on social media. Yay, this is what we
yay,
need. Yay, I can't wait. Okay, free
exactly.
lifetime server space, chat, video, and social media posting. And we also have, you know, support for First Amendment, excellent. No government spying, and your records keep private. Here, we're also talking about no spy server in a nutshell. Seal your privacy with our no spy servers, supreme data protection through independently operated servers, anonymous browsing. That's nice. And what about history, search history, and things like that?
Everything that goes on the hard drives
Yeah.
stay on the hard drives.
Okay.
Unless you delete files and reuse your space.
Hmm.
And I want to say something about, we first came along, there was computers with 32K of memory, and they went into the megabytes and they went into the terabytes. And we're talking about exabyte hard drives now, which is 1,000 terabytes is an exabyte. So what's on the server is a huge amount of space. They're not cheap to
Mm.
buy these hard drives. So, but when you put them on the internet to a place where people can load information up, they're going to have their space.
Mm.
And again, if it's personal use, a terabyte is more than anybody needs. Matter of fact, probably half a terabyte would be your typical person, usage.
Hmm.
But I want to say something again about cloud servers
Sure.
and what I understand the reason why Mega NZ got caught in their mess is
Mm.
Mega NZ Upload was using other people's hard drives to store other people's files. It was much like the old music site. Uh, I've already forgot the name again. Uh,
What was it called?
Napster. Remember Napster?
Napster. Yeah.
Napster got in all kinds of trouble for allowing people to access other people's computers to
Uh,
get music files from them for free.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
people could go into the Napster program and basically access other people's computers. They're saying, well, I'm going to share my song. And they
Mm.
put the song there, but what they don't realize is that you're getting into somebody else's computer. They're giving access to your hard drive, and
Mm.
anybody could go and destroy somebody's computer. Any hacker could get in and steal your information.
Or plant information too, I would
Or
think, right?
both, and
Right.
that's why we have so many hacking problems.
Right.
So in effect, what you're doing with this particular server is you're not
Right.
allowing any usage of other people's computers. The
Hmm.
storage will be on the hard drive
Hmm.
and it will be your space.
Right.
And it's not a cloud where people can just, we're going to delete some files and then somebody else can use that space. And,
Mhm.
Johnny down around the corner, he's got a half a gigabyte of space on his computer. Let's take that. Or 2 terabytes over here. This guy's got 6 terabytes of free space. We'll take some of his. And that's what Mega NZ was doing, and
Okay.
where they got caught.
I see.
And same thing with Napster. It was the same kind of an idea. So they
Mm,
ended up going out of business and being unfortunately taken
exactly.
over by the deep state. So that's a whole other problem now.
This has
People don't
also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
people don't realize that Mega NZ is actually now owned. It was taken away from Kim.com
Oh,
and his crew, and
mhm.
unfortunately,
New Zealand, yeah. This talks about dedicated torrenting servers. Do you want to explain that?
well, the biggest problem in torrenting any kind of downloads is that the speed is an
Hmm.
issue, and
Okay,
people constantly get uh, there's what I call it is like a governor where they
right.
lower the speed, download speed. And this happens constantly with people doing any kind of business with big, large files. Um, let's say you wanted to go to WikiLeaks and download their server. How long would that take? Well, they got millions of files. It would take hours and hours, 12, 24 hours, something like that. So with this high speed torrenting, you're not going to be limited on your downloads. You can
Mm,
blink your eye a couple of times. Instead of waiting for hours, you're going to wait seconds. And we're serving at a super high speed with
right.
gigabit downloads. Very few people get gigabit downloads. They're probably getting not even 6 or 8K
Hmm.
downloads. And sometimes people get a
Right.
megabit download.
Hmm.
Some people get 10 megabits. But if they want to pay for speed, this is a commercial server. And they're going to get the commercial speed of a gigabyte download. Uh, it's really
Right.
hard to express the benefits of all this. And it's something nobody else has, nobody else can afford. And that's why I'm raising $100,000 to start. It's $1 million project, not a $100,000 project, but
Right.
it'll grow as it grows.
Right.
And I just need to get it on there. And I have all kinds of people waiting, commercial accounts, waiting to see it work because they're
Very good.
looking at it like we need this.
Exactly. Well, that's very good news. And, you're saying here bigger bandwidth, higher speeds out of the jurisdiction of Five Eyes. I don't know that they're going to like that very much, utilizing CyberGhost VPN as you talked about. Let me just ask you, do you expect any pushback from this from the government? Is there going to, or any kind of regulating agencies? Is there one?
In this situation, no, because Romania doesn't cooperate with the United States.
I see.
And that's the reason I'm taking that direction is
Okay.
because
Hmm.
I just can't be bothered with it. I've been constantly
Hmm.
attacked by all kinds of people. I've survived the attacks. I think
Hmm.
I've proven that I know who I am and I know what I'm doing.
Right.
And I used to have a FBI, CIA followers that were constantly on my back, physically on my back
Hmm.
in my
Hmm.
neighborhood every day,
Hmm.
watching me and everything I do. And I've successfully blocked them. And now they're not getting, they're only getting the information I put on Twitter,
Right.
which and Facebook, which I'm a little bit careful about now. I don't post private information like Hillary's phone number anymore. And I don't
Yes.
put John Podesta's social security number online because those are the things you get banned for. But
Yeah.
there are privacy issues, and here I am preaching about privacy. Then I shouldn't be exposing uh, everything about everybody. I need to be careful exactly what I expose.
Well, there's an awful lot actually out there, and of course we know that that there's a lot going on right now. We're going to be seeing, I think, a lot of movement with these the there's investigations now, and I know that Judicial Watch has actually requested uh, they've they've either either filed a lawsuit or they made a FOIA request. They
Right.
demanding that the Clinton email servers are that they're investigated because they really were never properly investigated. So this was the issue. But you know what? I want to just screen share one more time. I'm going to screen share this one more time because I want to make sure our viewers know that this is a GoFundMe page, and this is where you can go if you want to help support this project. And as an alternative, and it's a grassroots. George is going to the people. He is creating this, and as he said, this is to get started. $100,000 is what they need to get started. this is going to be huge, but this is how you do things. Grassroots. It's just like how GoldFish Report has been a very grassroots organization. We're now covering, we're grateful that we've been blessed with the permission to go to the White House and cover the president. So these things take time. It takes time to get to know you, to make sure you have integrity, to make sure that, that you have, uh, the power and the ability to sustain and maintain yourself. And this is how things, this is the great thing about being in America and being an entrepreneur, is that you can make a decision to do things, and if you have the fortitude to stick with it, and to especially if it's a starting from scratch. I think there's people are very, look at Shark Tank. I mean, people who maybe should go on Shark Tank. That's what you should do.
There you go.
There you go. Go on Shark Tank.
Well,
Yeah.
part of the concern about that is these people want to own you, and I don't
Right.
like being owned, because then
Right.
means they can tell you what to do and what not to do.
Right.
And this is going to be a private server and a private
Right.
corporation.
Yes.
I'm not going to get rich off of this. This is going to be a lot of giving going on, free accounts for the general public.
Hmm.
Uh, when I find people are using it in excess,
Hmm.
I may ask them, are you a commercial body of people that are doing this under a,
Right.
private name?
I
But
see what you're
people
saying.
that want, people like radio stations, conservative television, Christian broadcasting, um,
Right.
they're asking me to do this. I'm not doing this because I want to do it for me. I'm doing
Right.
it for the world. It's my gift back to, to serve, because I'm running out of ways to help people, because I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of energy, really. Personally, I'm wearing myself out with all the
Mhm.
work that I do, and it's a good thing, because I feel good. I feel more healthy than I have in probably 20 years, and it's time to give back a little. And I think this is the way to do it. People are going to feel safe. They're going to feel secure. They're not going to get on the internet and be nervous about what they say, or who's going to come after me.
Right.
Their information is going to be private. And
Right.
we're going to do the best we can. I don't want to be an internet police. I don't want to be,
Hmm.
I mean, if somebody reads the original rules, and we talk about not putting um, pornography on the site, this is not a place
Right.
for this kind of junk, and we're going to take care of it. And if they are seen doing it, of course, they go. I mean, we're not going to be able to have people on that are doing this, but uh,
Right.
the whole idea is I don't think they're going to want to be there. But you're going to get attacked.
Sure.
We have to be ready for attack, and that's why we have employ the programs we employ, like World Fence, to keep people out that don't belong there.
Right.
And it's pretty much automatic at this point. And
Well, it sounds like it's very well thought out. It looks like, um, a very good beginning for you. I think that what we need, because I know that at some point this is going to be, um, you know, you have to spend all this time building it, and then at some point you just take care of maintenance issues about, how to. But it's good that you've got this all thought out. I mean, you know exactly who you want using it. You know what you're permitting. Especially, it's great to know that things like pornography are not going to be tolerated on that, and of course, I'm sure there's no threats or bullying or anything like that. I think you might be
right,
sensitive to that as well, but you know, this is a wonderful program. I'll tell you, folks. You just get tired of, and so many people have left Facebook. So many people have left YouTube and gone to BitChute and other server platforms, just like what George is creating. And we have to have these alternatives, because we have a monopoly right now. And when you have a monopoly, then you have dictatorships, and that's really what these big companies have become. And there's ways to fight back, and this is one of them. This is one of the best ways to fight back, is to make them obsolete. Right, George?
exactly.
Exactly.
Put them out of business one way or the other. There's the legal way and the illegal way, but we want to do it legal and
Exactly.
be proud of our group of people. We're a large group of people in this country. And I think that alone is going to change things for the conservative viewpoint, the people that still have a conscience, in this
Exactly.
country. So we need a safe place to go.
Well, I'll tell you, it's been an interesting interview with your, I don't know what to call it, the psychedelic silhouette.
I
George's
really think that's
psychedelic
cool.
silhouette. It is really cool. That's why I left it, because we're talking about computers and creativity, and why not? I have never had anything like this happen to me on Goldfish Report, where somebody, I mean, if someone's computer, if their camera wasn't working, they just didn't go on camera. But when George and I discovered this, we're like, let it go. This is so, it's so interesting.
Yeah, it's totally Disney anyway. You know, I can sit here and wave my finger and
Right,
be animated, but you know what? It's real.
exactly. Yeah, no,
I'll get
George,
that fixed for next time.
well, George, you're going to come back, right? So we can do this again.
Absolutely.
Good, because I tried to show everybody he's a real person, and I know he's a real person. But this was a funny glitch. Like I said, never happened before. And I just wanted to make sure, George, before we close up, was there any last final comments about anything that you wanted to leave our viewers with?
Just that you're welcome to go to the sites and check out, please read for yourself exactly what's on the GoFundMe site, and also click the link to go to the actual web place placeholder. The website placeholder is where there's more information, and then click on services so you can read a little bit more about it on, I think it's page 3 or 4 of the so secure social media dot online,
Mhm.
and then read there about the services so people can, get a good idea what's happening here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'll tell you, I think this was a very interesting interview. And I'm really excited to share this, because this is necessity is the mother of invention. And it's out of necessity, really, George, isn't it, that
Yes.
you've come up with this as an alternative, because nobody likes this censorship that's just out of control, that's unabated, and it just doesn't seem like, where's it going to stop? So it's great to know that people like George are out there to put these programs, to put this server together and offer features that we all want, that we all enjoy, storage that we all need, especially if you have a YouTube channel, if you have, as George said, radio station, if you have some sort of private or commercial uh, you know, uh, entity that really requires some backup storage. And I think this is fantastic. So I'm really excited about this. And this is why I wanted to feature this on Goldfish Report, because I wanted people to know that they have an alternative. This is a new project, and you can help. You can be part of making this happen. So just like Goldfish Report, this fund drive that we have as well for our road to the White House is very important, folks, because without you, we can't do what we do. We can't make it there and get our reports, bring our reports to you. So always remember too that it's a continual, and this is really the season of giving. Why not? Why not make this contribution? Why not go to Georgia's GoFundMe site and start this grassroots movement with call it a movement. It is kind of a movement because it's an invention. It's an alternative. It's new. It's sprouting. It's growing. It's a seed's been planted and it's growing, and that's when you start something from scratch, grassroots. This is what happens, and it blossoms into something, into
Exactly.
something of value, and that's what we do as well. So, um, with Thanksgiving this week, this will be published for this week. This will be out for Thanksgiving. It's going to be interesting. Can't wait to see the comments on this video.
I'd love to see them.
Our
Yes.
psychedelic silhouette. George. But we'll be back with George again on the Goldfish Report. We will have a follow up to this. And by all means, let us know in the comment section what you think about this. Let us know if you think that it's time for an alternative. It's time to stop the monopoly on social media, and to have and restore some privacy to our lives, and not be tracked and followed everywhere we go. So, folks, I want to thank you so much for viewing. George, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll see you again very soon on the Goldfish Report again. And like I said, folks, if you have any questions, just make your comments in the comment section. And the links to George's websites and the GoFundMe page will be in the description section of the video. So please visit there, and also go to thegoldfishreport.com. And there you'll have access to all of our links at the Goldfish Report. And we will be bringing reports to you next week from Washington, D.C. So we will be back there. And it will be an interesting time, and we'll see what happens with the president. And I do hope to get to ask this question about how is, what is the ultimate goal with the, I mean, the president's been banned, George, you know this, his Twitter account was taken down,
Right.
that he has suffered this as well. And, it's not something that he is, that that's it's a topic that's important to him. We know the Department of Justice is investigating Facebook and YouTube and what they're doing, because it isn't free speech, when you're banning conservative opinions. And that's why we need, if anything, folks, we're always about the First Amendment, and on this program. And so this is where you really get to exercise your First Amendment, when you have something like the secure servers and privacy, and freedom to say what you want without fear of without retribution. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week for our POTUS report, our weekly POTUS report. It'll probably be week 96 review. And of course, we're going to have a JFK special, of course, next week as well, with Jim Fetzer. So stay tuned for that as well. And of course, all of our live streaming from the White House. So stay tuned, folks. Thanks for viewing. And this concludes this edition of the GoldFish Report.